And one like this, good product, you know, they hard to sell at all. When I watch this very interesting and intelligent interview between our main man, Rufai, and one of our kings for this obedient movement, Dele Farotimi, as Rufai, they tried to fact check Peter Obi claim, say strike no day when he be governor. Dele Farotimi confirm am, give some kind of breakdown where everybody need to listen to. Watch am, share am, drop your comments.
Fact check. They said in his speech while in the university, he said in his time there were no strikes. And a lot of people said, oh, while Obi was still in school, that you have had the Ali Must Go riots, you know, that had segued into a lot of things. And how is he going to end the incessant strikes that pretty much have dogged our university system since the 80s? Or some people like to count the first official strike from the late 80s, you know, the Babangida debacle up till now. So those are two things to put forward there. You know, we weigh all sides of the conversation.
No.
Yeah.
It's only right that journalists should ask questions.
Yeah.
And it is only proper that society should be informed by the questions and the answers that will be provided by the candidates or anyone who is looking for political office. So these questions are right, and they should be asked. To answer the question related to fact-checking, I don't understand what universe some people live in. But I grew up in Ibadan. And one of the areas where I grew up in Ibadan was the University of Ibadan. I went to Abadina Primary School in UI.
Great Abadina.
Yes. And I lived across the road from the campus at Olorogun Junction. So I can speak to an extent about the university system that must have nurtured Peter Gregory Obi. When he said there were no strikes in his days, I would say that that is factually correct. Factually correct because strikes were few and far between, and the Ali Must Go to which they refer wasn't an ASU strike. It wasn't the academics on strike. As far as I can remember, it was a student strike. And as of that time, the Nigerian state responded to that strike exactly as it has always responded to every challenge to its autocracy. It killed, it murdered. My first contact with the Nigerian state was during the Ali Must Go riot, and it was me sniffing tear gas. So when they speak about strikes in the 70s, particularly in the 70s and the 80s, they speak ignorantly, because we're talking about a situation today where students are at home for upward of 9 months. We're talking about a situation today where the universities are functionally higher secondary schools, if the truth be told. So if they should not be comparing apples and oranges, compare apples and apples. When Gregory Peter Obi said there were no strikes in his days, he is completely correct, and I stand by that. There is nowhere in the world where you will not have industrial disagreements. But nothing of the sort that we are having today. If it was in those days that somebody would dare to go on strike and shut down the universities for a month, this country would have been grounded to a halt. Even in my own days in the universities in the 90s, this level of nonsense would not have been tolerated and allowed to become normal in our space. So let them not be speaking to that. And there was something you said in your intro that Peter Obi claimed that the university system more or less like destroyed. That's not a claim. That's a fact. There is nowhere in the world where people understand the fact that education is an investment in the future of that country and in the youth of that country, where something as intolerable as 9 months closure, and that is normal because the children of everyone making the policies, including myself, our children are not in the Nigerian universities. It is the poor who send their children to Nigerian universities, and nobody cares about them anymore. If I had been born in this generation, I would never have entered the four walls of a university. And I met the rump of the destroyed university system. So when he said, it's not a claim, it is a fact. But the unfortunate thing is that that is not confined to the educational sector. We're not dealing with sectoral failures in Nigeria any longer. We're dealing with systemic collapse. That is the reality that is staring us in the face. We keep using all these euphemisms in place of the real words that should communicate the reality of our situation. The educational system is completely unfit for purpose. The reality is you actually have to retrain, reorient. It's not just the educational system. We can have these farcical gyrations about sectoral failures, or we can look at our abject nudity in the mirror that is before us and admit to the fact that the system has collapsed. So it's not a claim, it's a fact.
There are many things you have to react to. There's another story that's been brewing that a lot of people are talking about. This next international wind-up in the UK that they just saw. I mean, you have a right to react. It's politics season. Yeah, so react to it.
When Peter Obi said, go and verify, he did not say go and falsify. What they have done is despicable in the extreme. A man resigned from the company, immediately he became governor. The wife was running the business. And then they voluntarily placed in a winding up notice. And at the maturation of the notice, it was effected. It wasn't them striking the company off the road. The company itself wound up its businesses in the UK. It was not even tangentially connected to either bankruptcy or insolvency or anything of the sort. But like I have said, when they can't tell you anything about themselves, they must invent mock about the person everybody is talking about. Peter Obi is good market, so they can continue. The only thing that is bad in politics is not to be talked about, that they can't find anything of substance but have to begin to invent, says everything.
Let's quickly talk alliances. We're hearing that most big political parties are making alliances with smaller parties. Who is the Labour Party talking to?
The Nigerian people. No, we're talking to the Nigerian
people. As regards other political, what's this alliance? The alliance with Kwankwaso, is there any inroad on that?
Like I said, we are talking to the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people are the ones who will vote in this election. Not big men, not alliances. Alliances help. And we have never foreclosed having alliances with anyone who is also looking to talk to the Nigerian people.
Are you still talking to NNPP?
I cannot speak to that because I am not party to any such discussion, but I can also not rule it out. I know we wouldn't be talking to the PDP, and we certainly wouldn't be speaking with the APC. But I would not be surprised if any such discussions might be ongoing. But in all honesty, I can't speak to it because I don't know.
Line open to speak.
I honestly cannot speak to that. You know me enough to know that if I know, I'll tell you I know. But you already know I'm a hot fellow amongst politicians. So when those kind of discussions might be going on, I doubt that anybody will remember to call Dele Farotimi to come and sit in those discussions. But I do know that we keep speaking to the Nigerian people, and Mr. Kwankwaso is an eminently qualified Nigerian. If the opportunity exists...
Is it Bola Tinubu an eminently qualified Nigerian?
Who is that?
Bola Tinubu.
Who is named that?
Bola Tinubu.
I really don't know who that is, but I do know there is a man who calls himself Bola Tinubu, and I doubt that I can find accommodation in the same space with such a man.
What about Atiku Abubakar?
Yuck. That's the past.
Are those eminently qualified Nigerians?
No, I don't believe they are.
Why?
Because their record in public office does not suggest that they should be trusted with public office again.
But Bola Tinubu claims he served Lagos and he did well. The father of modern Lagos. Atiku Abubakar was former vice president in this country.
You would have made an excellent attorney, Rufai, but the truth is this. No matter how many times Bola Tinubu might care to repeat that lie that he built Lagos, it doesn't make it the truth. The reality on the ground is that the man built a Lagos where there is no hospital fit for him to use. He has built a Lagos where I doubt there is anybody in this building who sends their children to a school that he has built. So what Lagos did he build? The same one where people are spending 3-4 hours to get to work in the morning, another 3-4 hours to get to work in the evening.
But they said they built a blue rail.
What blue rail? For 16 years? 16 years? To build how many kilometers of rail? At what cost? Look, the reality is that when a lie travels for as long as the Bola Tinubu lies and myths have traveled, eventually it must fall flat. And those lies have come to their end. You build the blue rail for 16 years. At what cost? How many years have they been building the Fourth Mainland Bridge? At what cost? Lekki Koi Bridge. At what cost? How many years did they toll it for? Lekki Ekpe Expressway. They've been building it for the last 16 years. They've not finished building it. In different sections of that road, yeah, it's already failing. We've been subjected to horrendous traffic on that. Look, when we're already speaking to the people. He can say, if I built the moon, if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be no Lagos. It would have been a creek